This is the newest creation from Tamiya, a revised version of the popular 80s icon, the Hornet. And this is a piece of wood, a piece of cedar wood in fact. I'm going to tell you the connection later on in the video between this and this. I'm sure some of you already know, and of course we're going to have a better look at this later on in the video, and we're going to build it and run it. But first I want to talk about our love for Tamiya, or the correct pronunciation is Tamiya. I've been saying Tamiya since I was a kid, so it's going to be hard for me to transition over to the correct way to say it, Tamiya. And I say our love for Tamiya because, let's face it, most of you watching this video have either had a Tamiya or wanted a Tamiya in the past, or remember them from back in the day. And for me, it goes back to when I was about 10 years old. Pull up a chair, it's story time. So for me, 10 years old, and it was the lunchbox that got me dreaming of owning my first RC car. We had a radio control club at school, and although I didn't have a radio control car, we used to go watch them racing around, and there were loads of people there, loads of different RC cars, trucks, buggies racing around, but the only one I remember is the lunchbox. This is like the black version. It was the original yellow Vanessa's lunchbox. It's the only one I remember, and that was probably a year or so before I actually got my first Tamiya. Although that's not strictly true, because I did get a Tamiya Lunchbox Junior, not this one. This is one I bought a few years back. And there was a few of us that had them, different versions. I obviously had the Lunchbox because that was my dream one at the time. And we used to play sumo on, I just remember it was an old cobble floor in some old like changing rooms. My school hadn't really had much modernisation from Victorian times when it was built. So we used to have sumo matches with these on the old cobbled floor. And well, that was about as much as I could do at the time. Fast forward about 12 months and I finally got my first one. And earlier on that year for my birthday, I got a Nintendo Game Boy. And I managed to do a deal with one of the kids at my school that used to go like property racing. They used to race buggies in a different place, like locally to me. And I swapped my Game Boy for a Madcap. I remember it coming with a couple of old NiCad batteries and a Ricoh fast charger. Do you remember them ones with the turn dial that went up to like 30 minutes? This isn't my original Madcap. I don't have any pictures or anything of it, which is a shame. But this is one I picked up a little while ago. It's in okay condition and it came complete with this BT's bag. Now, if you're in the UK, I mean, even if you're not in the UK, you might remember these. These were iconic for the time. When you picked up your new car from BT's, you get this cool holder. I think they came in about 3 or 4 different designs. This one's got the thunder shot on it. I was still about 10, 11 at the time, so my memory's not all that great of it, but I do remember driving it around my grandparents' house. They had a single story, like, we call them bungalows in the UK. I don't know what you call them elsewhere, but you could go all the way around it. I just remember doing laps of their garden with this. And I'm pretty sure I charged the batteries that much once that I nearly melted the rubber mats in my mum's Volkswagen Beetle with one of them Ricoh chargers, just constantly fast charging the batteries. They got so hot. I just remember like seeing, I think the outer packaging of the battery started melting. But good memories, even though they're a little bit vague. And that's the thing with Tamiyas. That's why we love them, because we have good memories of them. I'm going to take a guess that if you're over 30-ish, you've probably got a story of one that you had, or a brother or sister, or your dad had one, or used to watch them racing like me. But most of you will have some kind of memory of this. But if you were born in the 70s, 80s or 90s, I'm pretty sure you will remember these one way or the other, good or bad. As you can see, I'm very lucky that I've got a lot of Tamiyas. But like I said, for me, it started at 10 years old. And this channel's foundations are actually built on Tamiya content. The first ever RC related video on the channel was in 2012. And it was a brushless stadium blitzer. Again, this isn't the original one. I wasn't actively uploading and making videos for YouTube at the time, but I was pretty addicted to these things. And back then I didn't have the money really to just buy loads of them. So what I'd do is I'd buy one, I'd upgrade it, I'd play about with it, then I'd sell it, then I'd get another one and do the same, and you know what it's like. I was obsessed with these things, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. You don't see that very often anymore, do you? Made in the UK. I may talk a little bit about Ricoh later on, because they have a relationship with Tamiya. If you've got any very early ones, you may see it on the box. So that's the history. Well, it's not the entire history of my collection. We'll have a look at some of mine that I've got now. Might talk about a few I've had in the past as well. So we'll leave the nostalgia aside for the moment. We'll get this built, but we will drop back into it later on. So this is a new design from Tamiya. It's not a complete chassis upwards design. It uses parts from the DTO2, the sealed gearbox and the diff from it. I'm not sure, it's got double wishbone suspension on this, but I'm not sure if that comes from the DTO2 or a different chassis. It comes complete with bearings and oil shocks. Bearings and oil shocks, that's a rarity on a Tamiya. Now, if we look at an original Hornet, I will do a better side-by-side once this one's built. If we look at the original one, it's got that classic rear end that we see on other stuff, the grasshopper, I think lunchbox. Yep, lunchbox as well. And maybe some others, I'm not sure. But anyway, this is that traditional solid rear beam or rear axle on them. Can't remember, they feel like it. I'm pretty sure these are oil filled at the back. Got these friction ones at the front. I think they called them, did they call them like pogo stick ones or something like that? And it was basically a hopped up grasshopper to some extent. The grasshopper was a little bit more basic than this. Same rear axle and stuff, but it had friction shocks on the back. I don't know whether it pivoted like that. I think it just went up and down. But anyway, the Hornet was like a posher version of the grasshopper, and it also came with a 540 cam motor rather than a 380. Although the grasshopper had a rigid body, so it kind of acted a bit like a chassis brace, because I believe I've never owned a Hornet. I never owned a Hornet apart from this one that's never been run, and I bought this specifically for this video. From what I've read is they used to crack around the front here, the Hornets, because it's got a normal like Lexan or polycarbonate body, and because it flexed quite a bit, it used to crack around here, whereas the grasshopper had a rigid body that, well, kept it a bit more rigid and secure. I had a couple of grasshoppers in the past, but I haven't got any now. I've got a Barbie Jeep that I cut up a grasshopper to use the chassis for years ago, but I don't actually have a grasshopper. Probably one of the most popular Tamiyas ever, or the most sold, because, well, they were so cheap, and they still are. My camera's telling me I've been chomping on for 30 minutes already, so hopefully I've edited this down and I've not just been going on for 30 minutes about why I love Tamiya. But anyway, this comes out late November, I think like 21st or 22nd, in the UK anyway. I was gifted this by Tamiya UK. In fact, it's probably the only one in the UK at the moment. Lucky me, I know. Well, actually, very lucky me, because 10-year-old me lusting over a Tamiya lunchbox at the local like radio control club would have never have thought that 30 years later I'd get an invite to have a personal tour of the UK facility. Now, it isn't a walk-in shop like the one you got in Japan. You can't just rock up and have a wander around. Although how cool would it be to have a Tamiya museum or shop in the UK? Maybe I need to suggest it. So yeah, not a shop, however, they do have some very nice displays. I was like a kid in a candy shop for most of my time there. Just look at all the cool stuff they've got on display. I think most of like the vintage ones, the old school ones, are actually the personal collection of the current MD of Hobbyco. There'll be a little bit more history on there in a bit, but man, I had such a great day, and well, hopefully you're going to see some more stuff from me and Tamiya in the future. So relatively easy build, nothing too crazy with it. And if you're quite new to building or never built one before, I'd say this isn't too bad. You'd probably be all right with it. I mentioned earlier that I didn't know whether the new suspension arms were off a different chassis or whether they were new. I'm still not 100% sure, but what I do know is this plastic, it's got like a bit of a matte effect to it. We all know most of the Tamiya plastics are this sort of shiny black like this. Not only do they have like a matte look to them, they feel different. They feel like a different quality, like a better quality. Be interesting to know. I'm pretty sure they look, I don't recognise them off anything, so they could be new. And well, yeah, that's definitely a different plastic. So while our ball bag over there finishes the build and drinks his coffee, oi, I heard that. It's true.
Ball bag.
We'll go and have a look at some of my collection.
You're a ball bag.
So I won't spend too long, we'll just have a quick look at these. If you want to see any of the ones I'm showing you now, they've all, I think, been in a video. So just type in YouTube, just put like Tomley RC Tamiya, and it should bring up all my videos. Anyway, this is one of my favourite. It's the 911 GT1. TAF chassis, drives really nice when it's set up, and it just looks awesome. Obviously, we couldn't not look at the Honda City Turbo. It's going through a little change at the moment. This is this is my logo, basically. And this is one of the first cars I had when I started the channel. I bought this, done 2 or 3 videos on it, and then I got a new body, weathered it, and at the moment, it's having a few changes, new suspension, new wheels, a new little setup. And there'll be a video not for a while yet, because there's a particular time that I'm releasing a video on that. Little NSU TT. I don't know why I bought this. It's on the, I think it's an MO5 chassis. I think I just fancied another front wheel drive chassis, so bought it. I think there's a video somewhere on it. Nice little car. I've already shown you the Stadium Blitzer. This one's going to get some upgrades, and I'm going to do a speed run at some point, probably next year now. I need to beat 53 mile an hour, which is what I got like however many years ago it was, 12 years ago, when I converted onto brushless. No collection is complete without a Vanessa's lunchbox. This is the black edition, brushless motor in there, oil shocks. It's actually a little bit too stiff with them oil shocks. I've had lots of lunchboxes over the years, as you can tell. I've also got this one. What's going on there? Oh, just the body. And I got this one. I've just given one to a good friend of mine, so I donated that to him because, well, I didn't need 3. This one I got second hand, planning on restoring it. You wouldn't have seen this one, I don't think, on the channel. It's obviously Mystery Machine themed, but yeah, it needs a little bit of work. Vanessa's lunchbox is what started it all for me on the old Tamiya train. Now this took me a while to find, and it's a little bit dusty. And in my opinion, one of the coolest Tamiyas ever made. It's the TR15T. It's a nitro. And it just looks, look at it, look how nice it looks. It's got like the perfect stance, road wheels that just make it look even cooler. And it just, wow, it just looks so retro. Definitely one in my favourites list that I'll probably never sell. This one is in very good condition. I've given it a run, I've done a video, but it needs a bit of a tune, and I was hoping to get it out this summer, but, well, we didn't have much of a summer. One of my most memorable Tamiyas in recent times. This was my car for the YouTuber race. It's got plenty of battle scars on it, tyre marks. It certainly went through the wars in a very short space of time, but it was awesome fun. Got a really nice paint job on it, and well, yeah, it's just fun. Every time I look at it, it just reminds me of what a great laugh it was. So that's one that will probably just go on the wall. I'd like to maybe race it again with this body and stuff, but we shall see. Another M chassis, this is the GR Yaris. This was actually done as sort of a replica of my car. And every time I look at it, I regret selling my actual one, but it is what it is. This one was an XB, expert built one, and it was for last year's advent calendar. The only thing that really let it down in the video was how much movement there is in the rear body, on the mounts, and yeah, just, anyway, good fun. This one was also an XB, expert built, and I think it's the second ever XB that they made. Boxes here, and if you look, part number 57702, yeah, so the 02 would mean that it was the second one ever. That is the TL01, isn't it? TL01, brushless. The theme here, isn't there? This was just something I saw it and I had to buy it. I can't remember if I put that in the advent calendar as well. Anyway, Ford F-150 Lightning. They all have a story. On to one of the most fun things you can have, and this is the Dancing Rider. This one was the limited edition Tamiko version. This was number 267 of 333. Again, oh, it's broke. When did that break? I don't remember breaking that when I'd done the video. Oh, it must have cracked or something. Ugh, brushless, again, like a lot of my things. How did that break? Easily fixable, like most of the Tamiyas, spares everywhere for them. Even if they're discontinued, you can generally find spares for most stuff. But yeah, that's a Dancing Rider. A lot of fun, these things, especially, well, brushless.
I've got a few in boxes. I've got the squash fan. I've not done anything with that yet, and I don't know whether I will. It's just, again, I bought it just after it was released, and, well, not got round to doing anything yet with that.
I got the BT01 Supra there as well. Not sure what I'm doing with that just yet. They've just brought out a really nice Porsche. It looks really nice, so I don't know. This body goes with a chassis that's in a box somewhere that needs repairing. This was an XB as well. It's part of a massive collection I got.
A little Mini down there. I built that.
Dust on this. I've done a couple, 2 or maybe 3 videos of this. As you can see, it says Lockdown Basher. I made a little garden course. Oh yeah, it's properly broken. I've smashed open the chassis. I've got spares for it. I just need to fix it.
The reason I've done it white with like black is because it was actually my first ever Tamiya that I bought, like brand new and built, was an MO1 in like 1996. And I got one picture of me with it. Come on, it was a long time ago.
Obviously MO1s are expensive, so I think it's an MO3 chassis, but yeah, kind of built a replica of, well, my original one. And actually, it's probably, and even though it's smashed to pieces, I'm pretty sure I smashed my original one to pieces back in the 90s from so much, well, use and abuse.
And then I got another one in a box under here. That's a Grand Hauler. I was meant to be doing, that was for, Kev done like a truck video a little while ago. Converted to brushless, speed runs.
I bought that to get involved with that video, but, well, I just didn't get a chance to build it. So I will have to do something with that, won't I? Anyway, save the best till last. There's a few others that I've not shown. Like the Racing Fighter, I did a video with that against a Traxxas Bandit.
My Sand Scorcher that's looking a bit sorry for itself after doing the world's fastest video, but I'm going to rebuild that and make it good again, and, well, might be a video on that.
And of course, the Avanti Black Special that, well, you should have seen a video on that already. If you've not, it was a video or 2 before this one, or maybe more. I don't know when I'm releasing this video. Speaking of Avanti Black Specials, there's a link in the description where one person is going to win all this. There's still time. I don't know how long left there is, but there is still time to win it. You get my fully customised 50-mile-an-hour one. You get a brand new one in the box, and you get this cool Jadland bag, very reminiscent of the old Beatties bags. I've used mine loads. It is really, really handy. There's a link in the description with more info on how you could be in the chance to win it. If you've not seen a video of this, then, well, check it out at the end of this one. Anyway, the best till last. This is a 1979 Ford F-150 Ranger XLT. They have never re-released this. They've re-released all the other like SRB chassis, but not the Ranger. So out of all of them, this is the most sought after, I think, and they command quite a bit of money. This one was also with a big collection I got, and this one was a keeper. I sold most of the stuff on there. I wasn't in a position at the time to keep it. Well, I wish I did, because I sold some absolute, well, I regret selling a lot of them. But this one I did a little bit of a sort of resto mod build, so I put modern electronics in it. Can't remember, I think I put a Sport Tune motor in, and I took it to the beach and had some fun, and it looked so good running around that beach. But this is my favourite. It sits proudly on display in the middle of my racking in the studio. I've got the original box for it, and, well, yeah, it's now a shelf queen, but like a lot of my stuff, it has been run, but now it just sits up there and, well, looks good. Oh, and I nearly forgot. The BBX, going through, it's been sat there for ages. They're sand thrashers from RC 4-wheel drive. The front wheels are just too big and it just doesn't look right, so I need some smaller like sand tyres for the front. But yeah, the BBX, the best buggy, or the best sort of retro buggy that Tamiya produced in, I think I said 40 years, and it's true. It is awesome. So there you go, that's most of, if not all, my collection. I might have some hiding somewhere else, but I've had so many from starting the channel to now. That's just what I've got left now. I've had like loads, and like I've mentioned a couple of times, I got a massive collection. I paid like nearly £3,500 for it, and that's about just over $4,000, maybe a bit more. Sounds like a lot of money, but I got, I think, 36 RC cars, and most of them were quite sought after cars as well. So I made a fair bit of money back from it, but at the time I just wasn't in a position where I could have kept it all. If I bought that now for that price, I'd probably keep like 85–90% of it, because there was some absolute gems in there, and I regret selling them, but that's just how it goes sometimes, doesn't it? Right, Hornet EVO. So pretty much there with the chassis. It's so nice having independent suspension on this thing. It works really well. I'm going to show you, once I've fully built it up with a battery in, I'll show you the little drop test with it compared to the old one, just so you can see that suspension soaking up the impact. Now, I did have a little issue with the servo. I think it's my servo rather than the actual chassis. Servo saver was actually rubbing on the chassis, so I took a little bit of material away. I tried all different things. I tried moving the servo back by swapping positions and stuff, and then it wouldn't turn properly. But I'm pretty sure the servo, the splined bit that comes out the servo, I think it's longer than normal, so I've ground that down a little bit, and then obviously taken a little bit of material out of the car, because it was just pushing a bit too far forward. But it is looking good. Now, this comes with a Hobbywing 1060 ESC. Tamiya have changed, hang on. So they used to always come with, you can't really see it in the packet, and I can't remember what it was called. What was it, a BLE02 or something? Just a cheap ESC, wasn't great, and I'm not sure if it would run LiPo either, but that is a really nice upgrade. The 1060 Hobbywing is a decent ESC. I'm gonna change the plug on it. Not a fan of the old Tamiya plugs, and I'm going to be running LiPo. But because we got this ESC, this is the Mabuchi silver can. Is it Mabuchi? Mabuchi? Mabuchi. I don't know. But anyway, it's a silver can. We're going hot. We're going to go hot. I've got a super stock BZ. Bearings all round, bearings through the drivetrain, bearings in the steering as well, in the wheels, makes a huge difference. And I'm pretty sure it will run this motor fine. It's probably going to be pretty quick as well. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, I think these are about 13,000 RPM, I think, about 13-ish. And this one with a 7.2 volt, we're running it on a LiPo, so it's going to be even more. This one's 26,500. It's double the speed of that one. This thing's gonna be mad, and I'm looking forward to it. This is actually my first proper stock motor from Tamiya. Never had one before, so I thought I'd treat myself and treat the Hornet. Oh, look at that. Such a beautiful thing. The only thing is with these, they don't have bearings at the front or back of the rotor. You can upgrade them. I just didn't want to take it apart yet. We're just going to run it as is. It's almost too nice. It's like a display piece, isn't it? And I'm pretty sure people collect these to display. Look, it even comes with like some winter clothes. I think they're to protect it from dust and dirt, but that is really cool. So I'm going to get this motor in, get the electronics in, make sure it's all running okay and everything like that. And then it's the final piece, painting the body. And then before I take it for a burn, we'll put it next to the old one and just have a look at the differences. I think it might have a slightly longer wheelbase as well. We shall see. If you've got a steady hand and a very sharp blade, you don't need to use scissors. I've got quite a steady hand, and usually there's like a little ridge in these anyway, so you can kind of follow that with your blade. But now actually, I'm probably not going to do this on camera because I need to concentrate and I need to kind of hold it in a decent position to cut it. I'll be back in a minute, and there's either going to be like blood everywhere or a nice clean cut body. There it is, the Hornet EVO, all finished, with a little sting in the tail as well. Nice build, nothing too technical. I made a few little mistakes as I usually do when I'm building these things, but all done, and it feels so much different. When you get them side by side, let's get straight to side by side. It's really easy to see the improvements. This is the stock one, obviously pretty much just up and down. You do have a little bit of side to side, but very harsh, let's call it harsh. And then this one, look at that. And then that side to side, look.
That is what independent suspension does for you. So yeah, there you go. That is the difference. Standard Hornet, Hornet EVO. Beautiful. And obviously now we have fully adjustable camber and toe, adjustable camber at the rear. You see the metal drive shafts in there. But I like the decals as well, and I like the 40. And the 40 represents 40 years of the Hornet. 40 years old, and well, now we've got a nice revised one that we're gonna go and see how fast it is now with that little hot stinger in there. Just gonna give it a nice run, a little bit of off-road, a few little jumps if we can find some, and well, gonna have some fun. Before I forget, the connection between this cedar wood and, well, not just the Hornet, but Tamiya. The first ever business that Mr. Tamiya started was a timber business. I'm not fully clued up on the history. There is a book actually you can get that gives you a load of history, but I'm not fully clued up on the history. All I know is what they used to do with the offcuts back in the day, and we're talking, I think it was post-World War II. They'd make models out of like the offcuts of the wood, and generally it was cedar wood that was used, and they'd make like battleships and stuff like that. And it all started from there, and it went from a timber company to then making models, wooden models, to then later on making plastic models. So wooden models to plastic models to slot cars to then radio controlled cars like this. And like I mentioned earlier, Rico, I want to say maybe 60s, sole importer of Tamiya products and Akums. And there's actually a little bit more to the history, especially with slot cars, when they tried to get them to America, and the American retailers were like, we don't want any Japanese made stuff here. It's quite interesting actually, because stuff that was made in Japan back in the day was actually not seen as it is today of like quality. It was actually the opposite. People would like shun it because it was made in Japan, whereas from, well, what we know now, stuff made in Japan is actually very good. Anyway, I'm not going to go into a massive history lesson, but these guys thought, no, actually, we think that this would be really good. So they imported slot cars, plastic models, and then obviously radio controlled cars. And that's why you see this on some of the very earlier boxes. And that is one of the reasons why Tamiya is so big in the UK. It's because the UK's been a big supporter of them and partner, really, of Tamiya for a long time. Now, fun fact, the old managing director of Rico, his son is now the MD of the current UK importer Hobbyco. And like I said earlier, and you saw the video of it, I got invited down there, and that place is awesome. And I can assure you, they are not just like some distribution like warehouse that just gets boxes in and they just push them out and do nothing else. They are massively into the hobby. When I went into Pete's office, he's the managing director. When I went into his office, although there wasn't like racks like this with like loads of RC cars on it, his whole office, I could just tell by the pictures on the wall and the models everywhere that he is massively into the hobby. Anyway, I've been talking way too long in this video. Let's go and get some action. So I know I said this was going to be like really fast, but I'm talking Tamiya terms really fast. If you think like the stock silver can is in the mid-teens, some of them even less, but oh, it's a bit damp here today. As long as we can keep it going in a straight line. Let's trim it up. I did do some stuff with the geometry. Full throttle, there we go. Ah! No. Those Tamiya servo savers. I think it might have got caught. Should be all right. It was a slow crash. Where did my GPS go? We're good. I had the same issue with the Avanti Black. It just pulled one way. We'll see what that was, but I do want to try one more clean run. 27 mile an hour. I was going to say, I'll be happy with about, 20. 27. The little Hornet EVO's definitely got a bit of a sting in its tail. Slightly downhill going the other way, so come on. That's full throttle. Doesn't look 27 mile an hour, does it? But nice, that was cleaner. 27, nice. It's amazing how far we've come in the hobby, isn't it? I mean, this was like peak RC bashing back in the 80s. Wow, this thing handles really well. Needs a bit more steering. Oh man. The Hornet's been transformed. What a beast. Yeah. Oh man. Wow, that surprised me. Nice hot motor, definitely needs more steering, but nice hot motor. Plenty of power, suspension working really hard. Oh, I love it. We need some cheesy 80s music. Oh.
The year 2024 marks the 40th anniversary of the original release of the iconic Hornet off-road buggy. To celebrate the milestone, Tamiya's designers have cooked up a fun variant that is sure to please new hobbyists and veteran hobbyists alike. 1/10 scale RC model assembly kit. The 0.7mm thick polycarbonate body has the same shape as the classic body from the original Hornet. The two-wheel drive chassis has the same bathtub frame as the one used in the original Hornet. While the color scheme of the original is carried over, this kit features an updated sticker design. Includes 540 brushed motor and ESC. New EVO features 4-wheel independent double wishbone suspension. Sealed gearbox with differential gear from the DT02 chassis. Includes full ball bearings, CVA oil dampers, front and rear.
Wow, this Hornet EVO is so good. I don't think I rolled it. I maybe rolled it once or twice on that off-road bit, but that new independent suspension just soaks up all the bumps so well. I've not done any tuning to it or anything like that. It's literally straight out of the box with that hot motor in there. And it runs really well. Obviously I've done the camber and toe and stuff, but no suspension tuning or anything, and it just runs really well. So if you had a Hornet back in the day, or you wanted one back in the day, I would recommend getting the EVO if you want to go out and have some fun with it. If you just want one to sit on a shelf and remind you of your younger days, then obviously this is the cheaper option, and it is the actual one from the 80s. But if you get this one, you definitely won't be disappointed when you take it out for a rip around. So just one more thing to do before we finish this video. I need to put my new Tamiya sticker up somewhere. During my visit down there, we were talking about the YouTuber race that we done where Tamiya UK supplied 8 of the TT02 kits for us. They put like smaller versions of this, well, they were still quite big, on the chassis. I think Tamiya wanted us to make sure that they were given some airtime. I took the sticker off, and so did some of the others. I think I joked that it was added weight. That's extra weight. I'll be taking them off. We don't want extra weight. But anyway, we had a bit of a laugh about that down there. So they gave me this giant one to replace the little one that I removed. And I reckon a good place for it probably be about there. What do you think? Or what, lower down? Maybe there. Hope you enjoyed that video. I will see you next time. Yes!